Weather University, sponsored by Gaston Roofing.
Well, this edition of Pinpoint Weather University, we're talking playoff football for the first time at home for the Panthers in 10 years. It's against the Rams, and in that game last time they played, it rained. And there's another chance for that today. Joining me on the show today here on Pinpoint Weather University, my good friend, meteorologist Andrew Brightman in the house.
It's so good to be with you today, Brandon.
We've had a lot of confidence all year long, Andrew, about the Panthers, especially me as a Panthers fan, born and raised since 1997. But it feels good to have this moment. Playoff football back. I know Charlotte's going to be so live on Saturday. So I bet you're excited too. I know you're not from here. You're not necessarily a Panthers fan, but you feel the energy. You feel the energy. Right?
I feel the vibe. You know, Brandon, you and I have been the hype men for this team here. People have been questioning the Panthers, but I've always believed. I had a weird feeling of what happened last week and it was going to happen, that they would lose to the Bucs, but somehow they'd get in. And I would say, you know what? You know what would be the most classic Panthers things ever? They go out and then win this week against the Rams.
I tell you what, it was a very nerve-wracking weekend for many Panthers fans, including myself. I was on my hands and knees on Saturday when they lost to the Bucs. I was on my hands and knees watching the Falcons. We had to rise up.
They did.
Cheer on Atlanta. They rose up and won the game. And unfortunately, Andrew, our rain chances for Saturday during the game are rising up. And
maybe not, unfortunately, as we're going to get into here, Brandon.
Yeah, so we'll see. It's going to be kind of an interesting deal as we go into Saturday. First, I want to talk about some of the former home playoff games for the Panthers. Again, they played the Rams a few weeks ago, about a month ago, had rain during that game. But look at the 5 Panthers home playoff games. Andrew, they've had rain during those days, but not necessarily during the games itself. Temperatures have been swinging quite well during the month of January. We see temperatures sometimes in the 40s, sometimes we see temperatures in the 50s, and sometimes we can get as high as the 70s, and that's what this chart shows well here.
It's very interesting, though, as we were talking about earlier, is that it's still mirroring pretty close to what the averages are for Charlotte this time of year. Almost uncanny here. You average all those numbers out. Very close to where we should be for this time of year.
Yeah, so look at the highs and lows. You can see those averages that Andrew's talking about there. He had that average high temperature of 52 degrees when you average the high temperature from the last 5 home playoff games. The average low from the last 5 playoff games on that day for the forecast, for the weather that happened that day, 32 degrees. And it can show those swings that we see in the month of January, Andrew. Sometimes we can get those big-time warm-ups during the month of January. But you can also have those very cold Arctic blasts that push through in the month of January as well. But I think we're going to be on the flip side of that, my friends, as we go into this weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be potentially a wild weekend. Weather could be a major factor here in this game, Brandon. You're going to talk about it. We've got a front coming through. We've got wind. We got rain. Could have lightning here across the Carolinas. So there's going to be a lot to watch here as we go through this Saturday forecast. 4:30 kickoff. We're going to be talking about some of the wind, how that could play into the game, and also some of that wet weather and lightning as well, Brandon.
Yeah, look at some of the trends here as we get towards the Panthers-Rams game. So earlier in the week, it looked like that cold front was going to be pushing through earlier in the day, really Friday night into Saturday morning, which would mean the front would clear out in time for the Panthers game, and the rain would be out of here already. However, with that trend of the cold front moving in later, that means the rain's likely going to be moving in later in the day as well. Regardless of the rain, Andrew, this is going to be a very windy game. I mean, west-southwesterly breeze, south-southwesterly breeze, 12 to 18 miles per hour. Gusts maybe up to 25, if not 30 miles per hour, depending on when that front moves through. So that could also be a factor in this game.
I'll put you this way. I wouldn't want to be a kicker here with the game on the line coming at the end of this game. It's going to be very fascinating. Could be one of those situations where we're talking about where maybe what parts of the end zone they want to defend here, depending on how strong those winds get, Brandon.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And looking at that game forecast here as we get towards it, again, we're going to be altering this forecast here as the week goes on. But right now, 60s to 50s seems to be the general consensus, depending on when that front moves through. But we could be talking about showers, and we could also be talking about thunderstorms for this game, as Andrew was just talking about earlier in the show here. Thunderstorms are a possibility, and that could mean lightning delays as well, along with those windy conditions. And Andrew, we were looking at some of the lightning safety for the NFL. I know it's been so long for us here in Carolina since we've had a home playoff game.
It's been a hot minute.
We're going to have some patience maybe on Saturday if we see lightning delays.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting here with this game because the timing of this frontal boundary is just going to be so crucial, Brandon, when it moves through, what we're going to see here across the Carolinas in terms of potential severe weather. We're skeptical, not a lot of convective available potential energy, what we call thunderstorm fuel in layman's terms here. Not a lot of it, but not completely ruling out some isolated severe weather here, Brandon.
Yeah, and if we did see a stronger storm, gusty winds would be the main concern. But again, lightning also the concern as well when you're talking about any outdoor activities. Lightning, when thunder roars, you want to make sure you're going indoors.
Absolutely.
And that's what they do during NFL games as well. And we look at the NFL lightning rules. The first step when it comes down to the NFL lightning rules is detection. Lightning within a 10-mile radius automatically shuts things down. Officials monitor this. They monitor the radius zone, and whenever lightning strikes within 10 miles of the football game itself, regardless of what game it is, that begins the delay, and that is when we start the 30-minute countdown. The 30-minute countdown begins once you have that first lightning strike within 10 miles. But here's the thing, Andrew, and this is the thing a lot of folks get upset about, but it's a safety thing. Whenever there's a new lightning strike within 10 miles, that 30-minute clock resets.
Yep.
So that 30-minute clock does reset anytime there's a new strike within 10 miles, and that's why the delays can be pretty hefty when it comes down to lightning, because the play only resumes after 30 consecutive minutes without any lightning strikes. I've seen it, especially in NASCAR.
Yeah.
When they go to Daytona in Florida and things like this, where the countdown clock will get to like 28 minutes. We're about to get back into it, and then another lightning strike hits, and you've got another 30 minutes that you have to wait. And we've also seen it during football games as well. Matter of fact, Andrew, we saw it the first game of the year, Panthers Jaguars.
That's true. We did see that, Brandon. And it's also, I know this isn't super important for the game specifically, but like the NFL has set up all these games so it's like one game ends, the next game starts. What if there's a significant lightning delay where it's an hour and a half before the game starts, or maybe it's the game starts and there's a lightning delay? Will the 8 o'clock game then get pushed back, Brandon? This is something I'm just thinking about now live here. It's just a very interesting kind of, could also throw a wrench in the whole NFL's plans for very carefully segmented games.
That's a good thing to think about. And you know what? If they do start on time, you still want to stick to Queen City News.
100%.
You want to watch the Panthers regardless. We don't care about the Green Bay game, or was it Green Bay, Chicago later that night. It's all about the Carolina Panthers.
It's all about the Panthers. Nobody believes in us, Brandon.
Yeah, so I'm hopeful, and Vegas definitely doesn't believe in us.
10.5 point dogs at home.
Yeah. Now, I will say, we did have rain in the last Rams and Panthers game as well. These are some of those pictures from that game. That was a very close game, Andrew. And even with the rain, we had a pretty high-scoring game, 31-28. I mean, still got a pretty high total there.
I was gonna ask you, do you know off the top of your head by chance what was in the playoffs? What's like been the largest home underdog? I know you're an expert, so I know
it was 10. I think 10 points. I believe it's like the second longest line.
So it was last time I saw it. Well, I saw one place where it was 10.5. I was curious.
It is 10.5 now.
Okay, I was just curious.
It opened at 10.5. I can't remember exactly. I know it's I believe it's like the first or second longest line for
I'm trying to see in the
playoff team.
Yeah, I'm going to try to look that up here in the moment. But but weather could be the great equalizer here. Why the Panthers were able to beat the Rams. Those 3 turnovers that we got off the Rams in that game was so crucial, along with good quarterback play from Bryce Young. That's also going to be very, very crucial here. Those two things came together. It looks like, actually, I think this I'm looking it up online.
Is it the longest?
I think this is the bit in NFL playoff history, not regular season, playoff history. Panthers might be the biggest home underdogs ever at 10.5 points right now.
And what's the total for this game? What is the over-under? I'm just curious, because with the rain, the total should be a little bit lower.
I think it should be lower. I'm trying to pull this up real quick.
But as you're pulling that up, Andrew, I'll get us kind of back to that lightning safety deal that we could be seeing on Saturday. If there's lightning again, the detection within 10 miles.
Over-under is 46.5.
46.5. Well, you know, I will say we did have rain during the last Rams-Panthers game, and they went way over that. So I was just curious, to see how low that
didn't have the wind, though, too.
Yeah, and that's another aspect, too, the windy conditions we could be seeing. And Andrew, let's kind of just go through like a step-by-step process of what's happening here.
Yeah.
So here's our late week system. This is a very robust area of low pressure. We can see this during this time of year, Andrew, because of our large temperature gradients that we see. during this time of year where the temperature is spread out from west to east. Big differences in temperature lead to large temperature gradients, and that leads to pretty strong cold fronts around this time of year as well. But you can see late week system, there's your cold front moving in from the west through the Central Plains. You can see the rain moving into the Great Lakes region. And then, Andrew, Friday, really morning, look at all that moisture being pulled up from the Gulf.
It's just also the southerly winds flowing in. If it wasn't for some of the cloud cover that we're going to have, we'd be just absolutely taking a torch here to some of these potential record highs. I mean, today, the rest of this week leading up towards the game here, temperatures around the 70-degree mark, in the low 70s, depending on if we can get some sun peeking through some of these clouds that we'll see, especially later in the week.
Yeah, it's definitely something we're going to be, watching for. And one good thing for the Panthers is that they've had very good practice weather this week with all the warm conditions. Dave Canales was talking about it over some of the press conferences. He's like, man, beautiful weather for us here as we get ready for this Rams game. And now we're talking about temperatures again, possibly for this game being even warmer. And you were talking about severe weather too, Andrew. That's another aspect that we're going to be watching for. We can see Thursday, there's that severe weather threat along parts of the Mississippi River Valley as you're getting into Memphis, maybe up towards St. Louis, Nashville, possibly some isolated severe storms then. And then Friday, you still have that focus along the deep south where we could see some severe weather there. So that's why we were also watching for that chance here for maybe some isolated stronger storms on Saturday. The main concern would be gusty winds though, right?
Yeah, gusty winds and again, southwesterly winds we were talking about here. That's basically not blowing directly because the stadium is kind of oriented sort of almost northwest to southeast, but there could be times when, you think about the high-flying Rams offense here, Matt Stafford probably at worst going to be runner-up here in the MVP. It could be very interesting to see how they want to play. If the winds are strong, if we're getting winds over 25 or 30 miles an hour, especially because right before a front comes through, we can sometimes see these winds really pick up and get howling before the main front comes through. It could play an active role here. I remember one time in particular, this is like 12 years ago, it was a regular season game, it was Patriots-Broncos, and in overtime, it was very windy up at Gillette Stadium. And Bill Belichick, instead of picking whether or not he wanted to kick or defend, he actually chose what end zone he wanted to defend because of the wind was so strong. It was playing that much of a factor, Brandon.
And you've mentioned the Rams too, not used to a lot of outside
wind
conditions.
They can handle this, Brandon.
So, and I pulled up, and this might be overdone a little bit. The American model, though, this is a look at some of the gusts it's spitting out for Saturday afternoon, evening. And you're talking about gusts 35, 40 miles per hour. Now, we'll probably be a tick under that. But even then, gusts around 30 miles per hour for this game could play a major role in how this game is played in regards to kicking long field goals, field position, passing game. And, as a Panthers fan and seeing how we've played in the past, I just would like us to keep Matthew Stafford off the field as much as possible. I want to establish the run, 100%, control the line of scrimmage, and just hope that we can keep Matthew Stafford off the field, hold on to the ball longer, and give us more opportunities than they get.
And, the last time that the Panthers' run game really performed well was actually against the Rams, where Rico Dowell and Chuba Hubbard combined here had over 140 yards on the ground. That's going to be crucial. Limiting the turnovers in a wet game where that ball could be almost like a greased watermelon out there, because that's what we can see sometimes. And again, in that weather, the Rams gave us the ball 3 times. We had the fumble, I think the 2 interceptions here. One was a pick 6, Brandon.
Mike Jack.
Yep. And then that's going to be crucial. They have to win the turnover battle, and they're going to have to. They need to establish the run. If they're going to no one believes in this Panthers team outside of this station right here, this city, Brandon. I believe that we're
the Panthers.
It would be so, we talk about Panthers brand of football here, Brandon. How classic would it be? They lose the last 2 regular season games, where either of those games would automatically clinch the division. They get into the playoffs, backing in because the Falcons beat the Saints, and then as the biggest home underdogs in NFL playoff history, they go out and win. Wow. That would be classic Panthers.
I automatically think back to 2014. The season when we went 7-8-1, and we happened to win the division, and we went into that home game against the Cardinals, and we won.
Yeah.
So maybe we could do that again. We are going to take a quick break, though. We're going to take you step by step, time by time, as we go into Saturday.
My watch looking at it, Brandon.
Give you a look at the scenarios and what to expect maybe on Saturday, and why this forecast has been so tricky. That's all coming up on the other side of the break here on Pinpoint Weather University. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back into Pinpoint Weather University. That is a look at some of the pictures from our last game against the Los Angeles Rams at the bank. And I know the crowd is going to be hyped for this one. First home playoff game in 10 years for the Carolina Panthers. And the fans are going to be juiced. Charlotte's going to be juiced up. I mean, even people that aren't going to be at the game, this is going to be a high-energy Queen City as we go throughout the weekend. Now, unfortunately, rain could be a factor. This is a look at the forecast for the Rams-Panthers game. 50-50 right now on if there's going to be a chance of rain or not. And it's not just a chance of rain. We also have that chance of thunderstorms as well. And Andrew, we've got two different scenarios we're going to show today. One of those scenarios being the American model, another scenario being the in-house model, and why this forecast is so tricky. So again,
tricky with a capital T, Brand.
Yeah, tricky with a capital T. And honestly, that might even be an understatement because I feel like there's so much pressure on this forecast.
The wailing and gnashing of teeth of local and NFL meteorologists here as we get towards this game.
Yeah, it's got to be something we have to monitor, not even just before the game, but during the game, too, for maybe some of those lightning delays. So this is a look at Futurecast, Andrew. The American model itself, it brings maybe a little rain in the morning, but the front's moving through very slowly on the American model. So, I mean, Saturday afternoon for the game and the evening time frame, I mean, it could be maybe towards the end after the game arrival of the showers and
that would be a huge change too, because some of the trends that we were seeing maybe at the end of this past weekend were had the front coming through like overnight, early Saturday morning. So we've definitely seen a drift here, a moving of the time, the start time here back with this particular system.
And then you take our in-house model, another model that we use often, and this model in particular does bring a little rain in the morning, but notice it kind of brings the front through a little earlier in the day. Now, this will impact tailgates.
Yeah.
This will impact any of your restaurant hopping you might be doing at Uptown or South End or wherever you might be watching the game. But for the game itself, we'd be clearing things out, temperatures dropping, and then you're talking about windy conditions for the game.
But then
itself.
also the wind almost being potentially almost
completely different direction.
A completely different direction out of the north and west. Also, another important thing here with this model, our in-house model, this is what we call a convective allowing model. It can simulate the development of strong and severe thunderstorms, unlike the main American model, the GFS. It's unable to do that, but these convective allowing models give us a much better look at what we could see in terms of potential severe weather developing across the region. And I really, we were talking about some of that low thunderstorm feel, but when you have a strong cold front like this, you've got temperatures that potentially before it moves through almost 25 degrees above, at least 20 degrees above average, really could be an interesting and potentially somewhat dangerous situation for tailgaters if it comes through before the start of the game, or if it moves through during the game. Here could be a potentially dangerous situation for fans as well.
That's exactly right. During the game itself, I mean, you want to make sure that you're packing your poncho, or before the game, you want to make sure you have your poncho.
Yeah.
Have a raincoat handy if you're going to be out at a tailgate early. Just have that stuff ready. If you're
have some of those big weights to maybe like keep the tent or awning tied down.
Just getting ready to point that out. Make sure that you have that stuff tethered down really nicely, because it will be a windy day. Regardless of when the rain moves through, Andrew, the wind is going to be howling throughout the day. We're talking 20, 30 mile per hour gusts, possibly higher than that at times. You're going to be hearing the gusts. You're going to be feeling it. And your tent, you don't want that to be feeling it as well and flying somewhere else, because that could ruin the tailgate really quickly, especially if it's raining as well.
It's just, that's something I think is I wonder what the over-under, Brandon, so we'll get into our picture in a little bit next in the next block, by like what the over-under on flying tents are going to be here around Bank of America Stadium.
Well, I think fans are just going to be flying around in general.
Yeah, that's true.
I feel like I'm going to be flying around quite a bit.
Brand's going to be locked in. You're going to the game.
I will be there. Yeah, I'm going to be sitting up by the satellites and seeing the stars during the game, but I'll also be able to see the Bank of America Stadium pretty well up in the higher levels too. But I am excited, Andrew. This is a big moment for the Carolina Panthers. Rain or shine, thunderstorm or not, as long as folks
9 years, Brandon.
Yeah, we got to enjoy this. Enjoy this. Be patient. Follow the officials. If it does lightning, just don't get mad about it. It's life. Calm down. Relax. Seek shelter.
For your safety.
Get to safety. I know the clock might be annoying, resetting over and over again because of that one lightning strike, but let the storms move through, and then we'll see a nice game and hopefully a big Panthers win. And Andrew, we've got to talk about we've got to talk about our picks here. Coming up on the other side of the break, we're going to pick the Panthers-Rams game coming up after this, helping you out on what you should be deciding for the game and what to wear as well. Come be up here. Welcome back into Pinpoint Weather University. Head coach Dave Canales trying to lead his team to a playoff win in his first head coaching time as a playoff game. He's in a playoff game. He does have playoff experience, but it'll be the first time of him head coaching a playoff game. That man right there, T-Mac, he's also going to be playing
Offensive Rookie of the Year, in my humble opinion.
He should be the Offensive Rookie of the Year. If not, there will be. I'm already mad enough about the Derek Brown not getting to the Pro Bowl. This is enough for me. I don't want to see that. But Andrew, we got to pick this game. This is a big game. We saw them play again. We saw Coach Dave Canales and also quarterback Bryce Young celebrating after this last win against the Los Angeles Rams.
Biggest win of the
season.
About
a month ago. What's your prediction, my friend?
I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm picking the Panthers, okay? Of course. Ever just the negative, and I've seen the national media, this team doesn't have a chance. You shouldn't get to host a home game with the losing record. I'm like, they won their division. That's a topic for another time, talking about how people want to do the reseeding for the playoffs. You reward the team by winning their division with a home playoff game.
Exactly right.
But getting into that, they won their division. Was it pretty? Absolutely not. No. It was very, very ugly at times. But they beat one of the best teams in the league, the Rams. Now, the hardest thing to do here is try to beat a team twice.
That's right.
In a season here. So it's going to be a tall task. But I really think here, a couple of things. You can get into the betting lines here because you're sharp, Brandon. Like bookie, when bookies see Brandon coming, they turn and walk the other way.
I don't know about all that.
Okay?
I don't know about all that.
When Brandon has his parlay ready to go, they turn and they start running. He's about to take all their money.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I think probably I think we're going to get a couple of turnovers here from Matt Stafford or Stat Padford because he tried to get those 3 1-yard passing touchdowns to try to take the MVP from Drake May. Another topic for another time. But I think we're going to get one pick from him and then a crucial fumble here on the ground with the wet conditions. And that's going to be what the Panthers need. I need Bryce Young, though, to play a clean game of football. Bryce needs to play like how he did against the Falcons, but also like how he did against the Rams. Really, all things considered, because of the level of competition, that game he played against the Rams was probably the best game he played all season long. When Bryce Young has a passer rating of just 100 or more, the Panthers are undefeated this season. I think they're 4 or 5-0. Okay, he plays a clean game. The Panthers got a chance. They built a good team here. They just need the consistent quarterback play, and also a solid running game. Need at least 100. I think 100 in total, 50 yards on the rushing yards on the ground is going to be crucial. I'm going 2017 Panthers. I think the over-under is 46.5. I'm going under, Brandon.
All right. Well, I got you, Andrew. I tell you what, I'm not going to do as much analysis because I'm a Panthers fan, and you already know where I'm going with this one. I'm picking the Panthers to win.
Yeah.
And I've got the score being 24-21 Carolina Panthers.
So you got the under hitting.
One in a showdown. The under would hit currently if you're a betting person, but 24-21 is my final score. Carolina Panthers win. We go to the divisional round. Then we go to the conference championship and maybe a Super Bowl.
Brandon's bags are packed to go to San Francisco. His bags are packed.
Hey, man, I'm ready to go. I'm super excited for this game. If you're going, be safe, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and be careful out there. And again, if lightning or thunder roars,
head indoors.
That's what you got to do. But hopefully we can send the Rams back indoors in Los Angeles after this one. Andrew, this has been fun, my friend. We'll do it again here on Pinpoint Weather University. Again, you were watching Pinpoint Weather University. We'll get you back out to the world.
Keep pounding, baby.
Celebrate your Carolina Panthers. Keep pounding. Let's go. We'll see you next time.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's app store.